All right, folks, just wanted to do a quick ride update. I am 1,150 miles into this machine. I picked it back up in July, and I got it from a fellow who just sold it because it wasn't for him. Had 392 miles on it. So it is a 2022 Kawasaki KLR 650 adventure model with ABS. So just going to give the pros and cons, the additions that have been made before I bought the bike, and some of the stuff that was purchased after I bought the bike. And I'll give the pros and cons on what I've learned so far. All right, now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the performance of this thing. It is a 652cc thumper. It is not the fastest bike in the world. If you come off of sport bike, like I came off of a CBR 954, and you think you're gonna have the same speed and power, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening. But that's not why I bought this bike. I bought this bike strictly to start doing some BDRs, back pavement riding, backcountry road riding. So will it get you to where you want faster than anything? Absolutely not. But for the way that I ride, or the way that I'm planning on riding this thing, this bike was a perfect fit for me. It's comfortable to ride. The seat, I'm still getting used to it. You know, I'm a little bit older, so I don't know if it's a combination between saggy butt and a hard seat or what, but I'm still getting used to it. But I really like the bike. Fuel economy has been very good. The only thing I've done so far is I've changed the oil on it at the 600 mile oil interval. And one other thing I forgot to talk about is I did put the clutch bypass switch on here. Did notice a little bit herky-jerky at some points. This was a $15 plug and play. Seen people just, you know, do YouTube videos where they'll put a fuse in there, small mini fuse, and it bypasses. Definitely seems to smooth, give a smoother shift and on the downshifts. Now, the thing that I've noticed is it sort of takes away your downshift and braking. So now you're going to get more heavy into your braking system. I think for a lot of dirt road riding in the back, I will probably just unplug it, plug it back in, and use it where I've got the engine braking to help me out on the dirt roads. Like I said, to me, it definitely seems like it shifts smoother. There's a lot of argument on what it does to the mapping system, but basically from everything I've seen, it fools your ECU into thinking that the clutch is pulled in all the time. So is it a better upgrade? I don't know. The jury's still out on that, but like I said, I think when I do hit some more back road riding, that I will unplug it, plug it right back in. It takes literally 10 seconds. All I have to do is clip a tie wrap right there, and then I'll be able to give an update as far as the braking difference, as far as having more of an engine brake versus relying strictly on your front and rear brake. Now let's go with the crash bars. When I first wanted to install the upper crash bars, I wanted the T-Rex Racing because they go with the lower engine guards. None of the others on the market go with it. But at the time, T-Rex was out of stock, and they were saying 3 to 4 months before they would have new ones in stock. And obviously I didn't want to wait that long because I got some fall rides that I want to do, and I definitely wanted crash bars before I hit those rides. So the Happy Trails crash bars for the upper were on order for a month and a half, and they were still saying probably another couple weeks before production, then a week to ship. And it's just, the timeline was going to be too close for me to get them installed and hit some early October trips like I had planned. So luckily for me, T-Rex Racing came back in stock with the upper crash bars, which is what I wanted anyway. So I ordered them in a matter of probably 3 or 4 days, had them at my doorstep. The great thing about the T-Rex crash bars was the fact that I could remount and put my lower engine guards back on, because I just pulled them off and was leaving them off and was going to see if there's any way I could have modified them with the Happy Trails. But once I got the T-Rex Racing bars, that eliminated the problem. So luckily for me, they came back in stock sooner than I expected, and was able to utilize my lower crash bars. I mean, when you pay for something, you might as well hopefully be able to use it, right? One of the first things to go was the OEM skid plate. Really thin, nice if you're, I guess, just staying on the road or whatever, but that's not why I bought this bike. So ended up going with a Ricochet, and it bolted right in with no issues. So so far it's held up good. I've never really hit anything with it yet, but it looks good, and it was a super easy install. Okay, when I purchased the bike, he'd already done some upgrades on it, which were nice, added features. He put this piece here on, the green brake lever. It is a nice NC, I guess is the brand. Stands out a little bit, makes it look nice. He had aftermarket foot pegs that he put on. I'm really not sure of the brand. Initially, he had the stock bracket upside down, so they hung all the way down here. First time I got out and rode, I was dragging foot pegs everywhere. So had to put the foot pegs back up to the normal position. The other thing that I've put on since I got the bike was a center stand. Got it off eBay. When he sold me the bike, he gave me a brand new Happy Trails center stand, which was definitely built beefier, a nice center stand. However, when I went to put it on, it did not fit because the brake lever spacing was too narrow. Actually, the one he gave me was designed for a Gen 2 KLR, so I ended up giving that away to a buddy of mine, and then had to order another center kickstand. So I got it off eBay, I think for about 120 bucks. I think it's one of these Chinese models, but it works, and it'll help when doing maintenance, which it did help doing maintenance when I put on my crash bars for sure on standing the bike straight up. All right, so let's turn on the instrumentation panel. We got it on. It's just got your LED, you got your speedometer, it's got your fuel gauge, your clock, your odometers. It doesn't have anything fancy. There's no gear status as far as what gear you're in. There is no tack. That is the one thing that I sort of wish it had, you know, but if you've been riding bikes long enough, you're pretty much going by the sound and feel anyway. But still, it's just nice to have that tack, just to see what kind of RPMs you're pulling at any given speed. So the Adventure model comes stock with the upper bars here. Some call them crash bars, or just hanging brackets really, that will support, and that's where the upper front lights are mounted. And honestly, I like the lights. I'm not a big night driver, so for visibility when I'm out riding, I just leave the floodlights on, and we'll run this way for a little more visibility. Something else I didn't notice until I read in the forum was this feature. So what is that feature? On the back of your light switch back here, it says pass, and that's when you're letting someone know you're passing, or when you're coming up to, say, a four-way intersection, you can also do a couple quick flashes and maybe get a little more visibility in order for someone at a stop sign or a red light looking to make a left or right hand turn or whatever, can give them a little bit more notice that you're coming. And everything. The cases, I believe they're 22 quart. What is nice is that they lock on your bike. The same key for your ignition is the same key that opens up your saddlebags here. Not a ton of room in them. They're hard cases. They came with the bike. Would I prefer soft and bigger bags? Yeah, I would. So eventually I will probably get rid of these and go with an aftermarket bag. All right, like I said, they're not huge bags. I got some tube slime in there, got a pump. He gave me a couple pumps, gave me a key lock for additional security that locks on the front wheel. And like I said, there's not a ton of space here. So if you're gonna do long-term trips where you're gonna be camping out multiple days or whatever, you probably wanna go with an aftermarket bag. If you want to go with storage space, one good thing about the bike is the old trusty big wide back platform. You can mount your hard cases on there, soft bags. The seat is a long seat, so I mean in theory, if your butt is like up against here, lengthwise you got from here all the way a little more than half your seat to your rack here, or you can mount stuff on the sides. I've yet to really get out and load the bike down yet. To figure the best configuration as far as how I'm going to pack, but even with the stock panniers here, it offers a lot of room for different cargo space. All right, let's get to some of the performance stuff. Let's start off with fuel mileage. I've really only sort of measured the fuel mileage a couple of times. The first time I got it was pretty much open highway riding, doing about 60, 65 mile an hour, going through some small towns. And I averaged right at 53 miles to a gallon. And that was basically running the speed limits, maybe a little bit more than the speed limit. So 53 miles to a gallon, which sort of surprised me for this heavier of a bike with only being 40 horsepower. I think it was pretty good. The next time I measured it, it was around 50, right at 51 miles a gallon, but that was some backwood road and getting on the throttle, a little bit heavier to get to the ride-in locations and stuff. So far, I really have no complaints as far as the fuel mileage. All right, let's talk about the hand guards. Really, all they are is wind guards. They're flimsy plastic. They don't look too bad. Colder weather and everything, they will keep your hands warm, but it offers no protection here. So really the only upgrade besides tires coming that I'm gonna get is some bark busters to put on here to give me protection. Until then, I always ride with a pair of vice grips, because if I drop it and say I break a hand, the clutch handle or the front brake lever, at least I can clip on some vice grips, and until I get home, I've got me some handmade brake levers. The mirrors. These are the stock mirrors still. I know a lot of people flop them out and switch them out right away, but honestly, like I said, unless you're doing single track, I don't think they're going to be an issue. I've rode this thing at speed on the highway, 70, 80 mile an hour, and there's really minimal vibration, so it's not like it's affecting the view or anything. So for now, I'll leave these on. I'm in no hurry to get them changed. Here, what you see is one of the cheap cruise control handles. It also came with the bike when I got it. It works okay, and the theory is that you will push it down, set your throttle, and it'll hold it. But in theory, it will slowly slide onto rubber and you'll lose a couple mile an hour here and there. So really, I guess probably the only thing to fix with this particular handle would be to cut the rubber from here and just go bar to metal. And that way it's not going to slip and slide around on the rubber there. But I'm not worried about that right now. Like I said, I don't do a whole lot of highway riding, so this here is just one of those things that can come in handy to give your hands a little bit of a rest at some point, but it's not a big deal for me. Okay, let's talk the windscreen. The first time I got on the open road riding the bike, I was getting a lot of helmet chatter. I was getting so much wind that it was moving my head back and forth like a bobble doll type thing. And I was like, whoa. It was set at the lowest setting, which is a factory setting. And with my height, it was just deflecting the wind against my chest up into my helmet and giving my helmet a sideway movement. So pretty uncomfortable. So I went ahead and made adjustments on that. Okay, so very quick adjustment. Before, this was flat. You couldn't get your finger underneath there, but you can move it. So all you do is remove your 4 screws here, and then you got 1, 2, and 2 here on the bracket. So then you just move the windscreen up or down, depending on your comfort level and your torso height. And since I moved this up, I mean, it has worked like a different bike. It sort of deflects the wind, hits maybe the top of my helmet and moves over my helmet. So no more bobblehead shaking on the road just by making that simple adjustment with a stock windscreen. Okay, so what's the final verdict on the bike? Like I said, I've got 1,150 miles on it, and the bike basically is exactly what I thought. It's a good riding bike. I remember a lot of people were talking that they had a lot of vibration. Honestly, I really just have not noticed any kind of vibration at upper highway speeds or anything else. It's not a hare, it's a turtle. So, like I said, don't expect to get on a bike and haul butt here or everywhere. But for what these bikes are intended for and the price, even if you buy a brand new one, you just cannot beat it because the prices are great. It's good quality. Like I said, so far, no issues. Yes, they are a little bit heavy, but if you're just riding backcountry roads and not really hitting single track, you're not going to have any issues riding this bike. So now, with that being said, could you ride single track? Absolutely. If I was going to ride single track, basically I would just drop the pan airbags and then let her rip. So so far I'm happy with it. The gas mileage is good, the economy on it's good. Really soon I'm getting ready to do my first really off-road on it, heading up to the Smoky Mountain 500, but I've done some rural dirt roads with a mixture of sand, rock, and clay in Georgia, and the bike basically is driving as expected. So for the value, I don't think you can go wrong. Could you get a bike for a little bit more money that'll do more, like a Yamaha Tenere or something like that? Yes, you could. But if you're just trying to go budget, honestly, Kawasaki has hit a home run. I realize this is a 2022, but in theory, there's no difference between the 22 model and the 23 model. So hopefully this review will help you if you're on the fence about possibly buying a KLR Generation 3. Like I said, the bike is a great bike, and I just don't think that there's any way you're going to be disappointed.